Watching that Chappelle special, which I may or may not touch on, who knows? You start to understand the trick box men have been put in now. Everything is nature versus nurture. We're being forced to operate in the guidelines of a gynocratic world now. Now, someone shot me a email yesterday, and I said I'll speak on the topic. We was gonna talk about it a few months ago anyway. Got sidetracked with a lot of other stuff. Then R. Kelly stuff happened. Decided I was gonna go into that. Then got to talking about other things, and I just never felt had the energy, to really discuss it. But today we need to discuss whether monogamy is actually natural for a man. And I'm going down this road because a lot of us men have the same conversations with each other, which is what? You hear the same thing from your woman. Yo, when things were early, our sex life was great. We was doing it like jackrabbits. As things move on, they tend to, I don't get it as much. Now, for those who not handling your business in the bedroom, of course, she don't care one way or the other. But for those who are, this applies to you. And, I thought about how I wanted to attack it. Yeah, I was going to do it yesterday, to be honest, but got sidetracked and watching the Notre Dame game, watching the Alabama game. Then the Wilder fight came on. Thought about doing it around midnight. It was just like, nah, maybe I need to sleep on it. But, ran across an article where it was talking about how marriage reduces the testosterone in men. Y'all gonna have to stay with me because we're getting ready to go down a deep rabbit hole. But I'm hoping after we go down this rabbit hole, I bring more clarity to you men for why you feel the way you feel, and even to some of you women. Now, this starts from an article in the Science Nordic from Arthur Mads Molson. This comes May 1st, 2017. When he says men's testosterone level changes when they get married, shows new research. The male sex hormone testosterone controls the formation of muscles and bones, hair and voice. It also influences libido, virility, and has a big impact on personality. Testosterone influences everything that makes a man, says Anna Maria Anderson, research leader at the hormone laboratory at Riggs Hospital Clinic for Growth and Reproduction, Denmark. Now, just right there, testosterone influences everything that makes a man. But see, when your woman is trying to soften you and starts to make you docile and tries to bring you into her world, because what is the feminist movement all about? What is the LGBTQ community pushing at this point? Toxic masculinity. What would they like you to do? Behave within the guidelines of the way they behave, which then means what? They're trying to now get you out of your nature and nurture you into their environment. So we do have to understand sometimes some of these things are nature. It is natural for us as males to behave a certain way. Unfortunately, you don't have women who choose to understand that. See, they understand it when it's them getting their way. They're quick to tell you, yo, we're wired differently. I got all these hormones, I got all this estrogen going on, and you just don't understand what it's like. Now, for us, though, what do they say? You lack empathy. You need to understand. You need to fit more into our box. You're a misogynistic pig. Are we really misogynistic, or are we just behaving the way we're naturally coded to behave? That's a question you're going to have to ask. Now, the study is the result of a 10-year-long study of over 1,100 Danish men from the so-called Monica cohort. The first blood samples were taken between 1982 and 1984. For men between the age of 30 and 60, blood samples were taken again 10 years later. And this was a good age range to kind of use because 15 to 25, 26, 27, you blow on a man's neck, he ready to go. You having sex like jackrabbits anyway. So there's never going to be an issue of libido or testosterone. As you age, for the majority of men, testosterone starts to lower. And what you'll find is when you're in monogamous relationships or you're in a relationship for quite a long time, your testosterone starts to drop. You don't get upset. You find different ways, whether it be weed, alcohol, to just get through the day, calm your mood down, stop being so anxious. But what you're also doing is fighting who you are naturally. And I'll tell you how I know that to be the case. Because the second she tells you what, we need a break. Now, y'all may have not had sex in 2-3 months. She said, we need a break. Now, 2 days later, you can leave her and someone new you're talking to. And just off conversation alone and a hug alone, you rock hard and you ready to get it in. So you understand it's not your libido. It's the environment that you're in, which means what? They've nurtured you and put you in an environment where you can no longer behave naturally. She's taking nature away from you. She's forcing you to now operate in the guise of her world. And then she's going to sex shame you and penis shame you in her world for not being able to operate as a man in a woman's world. Because that's what we live in at this point. We live in a woman's world. Now, testosterone falls as we age, but when the scientists adjusted for age and lifestyle factors such as smoking and weight, which also influence testosterone levels, they discovered that men who had married in that period experienced the biggest drop in testosterone. They also noticed that men who had separated from their partners during this time had the lowest drop in testosterone, while those who had not changed their marital status had a drop in testosterone that fell somewhere in between married and divorced men. It's a good picture of how much our lives can affect our hormones. The body adapts itself to the situation that we find ourselves in. Now, the chicken or the egg, which came first? That's why I keep telling you, it's just nature or nurture. Everything in life, to be honest with you, is nature or nurture. Which is why I tell you a lot of times, my issue with a lot of feminists and women who don't want to take accountability is you've nurtured us to behave in an environment, and these are the results. This was your science experiment. These are the results of your science experiment. But you didn't get the results you wanted. So now you don't want any blame for this. What you want to say now is, I took a fish out of water and I put him in a school and I put him in a chair behind a desk and he just flapped for a little while and died. Why did that happen? You took him out of his natural habitat. See, there's a story I tell. I don't know if I ever told it here. The first dog I had. You know, when it's thundering and lightning, dogs act a fool. They get very scary and nervous. They go hide places. And my youngest sister, she went and jumped on the dog's back and tried to ride it like a horse. Now, King was never a dog that kind of, it's a German Shepherd. That was a dog who bit. He was a friendly dog. But when she jumped on his back and that lightning and that thundering sound hit, it freaked him out and he bit her. Now, normal occasions, he wouldn't have. But when you change his natural habitat and you put him in an environment that he's not used to, he just did what he was naturally supposed to do, which was snap and bite her. Now, as us as human beings, we say, no, you should have knew better. Why is that? Because we believe everyone should operate the same way, and that's just not the way this world works. That's not the way mammals operate. You must always ask nature versus nurture. Is why I can tell you, when I tell you, especially in our community, the Black community, I can always tell you and hold true to form and back that up when I tell you, yes, that Black woman destroyed the community. And people will say, no, that's harsh. She couldn't have. She created the environment. She had the children with all of these men. She made these children bastards. She said I could do bad all by myself. So when she created this whole environment and said, I don't need a man in this environment. We want a manless, fatherless environment. We want a mother-driven, ruler, queen environment, Black queen environment. Then, hey, these are the results of that. And like I always tell you, I have no problem with that, but own that. When you nurture an environment, own whatever the results of that product, that experiment you're trying to go, that test you're trying to run. Just own that. Own whatever the results going to be. You wanted this experiment, so these are the results of that experiment. Be it good or bad. Now, it is not the first time that a study has shown lower testosterone levels among married men, but the connection has always been a chicken and egg scenario. Which one came first? Are men with low testosterone more likely to get married? Or is it the act of getting married that changed hormone levels? The new study may favor the second explanation. It's an interesting study and the results fit well with what we expect. Now, if testosterone is too low, then it can impact negativity on your health. For example, it is associated with reduced sperm production and sex drive and increased risk of impotence and hair loss. But too much testosterone can also be harmful. It can make you aggressive and increases the chance of blood clots. But the changes in testosterone observed in the new study are not so drastic and are unlikely to have health consequences. So, what they want to say is they're saying the body compensates by releasing more of the so-called luteinizing hormone, which regulates testosterone, but married men did not produce more of this hormone. The idea is that married men release more oxytocin than unmarried men, and this influences their testosterone levels. Now, what is that? Oxytocin is known as, like, it's called the love hormone. It is released when you have prolonged eye contact or romantic physical contact. So, while testosterone is associated with aggressive and confrontational behavior, oxytocin is associated with feelings of trust, sociability, and romantic coupling. So now, she's now turned you from the aggressor to what? It's why when you get a daughter, most men, fathers, you understand this. When you have a daughter, something changes inside of you. The more girls you have, it changes you. At this present moment, I always tell my wife that. There was something when I had my second daughter, when we used to always go play basketball We could always still go get in these summer league tournaments and all of that. There was a switch I could turn where I could always go to this very dark place. And I could come back out, get on the court as a gladiator, literally. Not feel any pain, embrace the pain, love the pain, love getting physical in the paint, all of those things. There was something that happened after my second daughter where I told her I can't go there anymore. Somewhere around 2008, 2009, I could no longer go to that dark place anymore. Now, can I still protect my family? Sure, I can. But there was a switch I used to be able to flip where I could get on the court and be ready to roll. I could go talk to people who are no longer here and be ready to roll. I could just flip that switch. I could no longer flip it once she came. And it goes the same for most fathers with daughters. You lose a little. You're no longer as angry. You become docile. You become a whiner. You become a complainer. You start to let your girl have her way all the time. Why is that? It's because of that. That's what oxytocin will do to you. So, where are we at now? Oh, we go. So it's speculation, and we haven't been able to measure the oxytocin levels in this study, but it makes sense that it plays a role when you consider it from an evolutionary perspective, says Anderson. It is necessary for men to be able to defend their wife and any children. You still need testosterone, but it's also necessary to modify your behavior towards them. It's important that you bond with your family and create a tight social bond. So that's where we at with that. But now we're going to get to another study where it tells you a man's testosterone levels drop significantly when he holds an infant. Even holding a baby doll can decrease the levels of the male virility hormone. So again, there's also studies to let you know when you have your children, who a lot of these therapists are now telling you what. If your child wants to play with a baby doll when he's young, let him. He's trying to explain something to you. That's feminist speak talking. And you don't have to be a woman to be a feminist. You can be a male and still be a feminist. But what it is you even have new age therapists, and I won't even say new age because somebody taught them that. They're what? They're trying to nurture an environment, a certain type of environment. Now, of course, they'll say they didn't mean any harm by what they're doing. But they're trying to tell you what? That a man should behave in this manner. Who is a woman to tell a man how he should actually behave? What does she actually know about being a man? How could a man could never get away with having that conversation with a woman saying, hey, yo, a woman should be behaving like this. This is how a woman should behave naturally. A man is not capable of that. That's something, again, I always, when I'm talking to my wife, say, when she starts talking about menstrual cycles and abortions and all of these things and how it feels, how certain things feel on a woman's body and all of that, I'm out the conversation, man. I ain't got nothing to add to that. I don't know how a hormonal imbalance feels for a woman. So that's very insensitive of me, and it's very ignorant of me to now be saying, hey, I understand how you feel. No, I can shut up and listen. I can empathize, I can sympathize, but there's nothing else I can offer to you. I don't know what it's like to walk in your shoes. You know the urges that you have to naturally suppress as a woman. So you know what's natural and what's not. Just like for men, we understand the urges we have to naturally suppress. So if you have to naturally suppress something, then guess what? You're no longer living. This is no longer by nature which you're operating in. This is now nurture. Now, what they'll tell you is, no, you're just fighting certain feelings. And, it's natural to suppress those because it's the world we're operating in. No, anything you have to naturally suppress, you have to ask yourself, why are they asking me to go against nature and perform in their nurtured environment? Who benefits from that? See, when something comes natural, you just naturally do it. Again, I tell you the story with my dog. When her stomach hurts, she naturally, when we go outside, she'll just naturally go graze and find and sniff grass that's good for her to eat. Who taught her that? Who taught the dog that you needed to eat grass to settle your stomach? I sure didn't. And I had her since she was 6 weeks old. She's now almost 8 years old. Who taught her that? Who taught a cat who teaches animals how to naturally behave in their habitat? Nobody, because it's nature. It already comes to you. You don't have to nurture that environment. I didn't nurture that environment for my dog. I didn't nurture the environment for my dog to do the things that it does naturally. It's already coded in her DNA. But what they're trying to do is what? Alter how it's coded. They're trying to get us to fit now into a feminist box. Married men, whether fathers or not, have markedly lower testosterone levels than single males, according to one of the first studies of how the hormone changes when men marry and become fathers. Results of the study, done by a team of Harvard University anthropologists, increase our knowledge of human biology and may have implications for so-called male menopause. Now, researchers have long suspected that levels of the hormone largely responsible for fighting, competing, and mating decrease when men settle down and start a family. So again, these are all things scientists, doctors, they all know already. Do they teach us this? No. Is this the reason divorce rates are a lot higher than what they probably should have ever been? Probably so. Because it's not natural for women to be monogamous either, as much as men want to think that. But what they're trying to do is have what? Who benefits from us living in a world of monogamy? The government does. Now I'm going to tell you why before I keep going with this. Man has 20 wives and 100 children. What does he have? He has his own tribe now. You can't afford to have hundreds of thousands of different tribes operating under a democracy, because now it's no longer a democracy. You lost mindshare control if you have that many tribes maneuvering around like this. Now, I'm going to tell you why they also do what they do in terms of forced monogamy. Business. Christmas does not work without monogamy. Valentine's Day does not exist without monogamy. $50 to enter into a marriage, 10, 15, 20,000 to exit out. Who wins in that? Why am I paying somebody $20,000 to exit a relationship? Why? And even if you say, okay, we got a no fault marriage. Why did I pay $50? I didn't have to pay when we entered in this. Why am I paying you to acknowledge this is a relationship? And why do I have to pay you 10 times that amount to acknowledge we no longer in a relationship? Everything is connected, man. This is all big business. But again, I keep telling you, people love to believe their thoughts are their own thoughts. So at that point, when you're dealing with that, you're going to always run down these rabbit holes of people saying, this is not the way the world works because I made that decision. They didn't think for me. They don't think for me. I think for myself. And that's another issue we have. But that's not the time. This is not the time or the place for that. But other studies have showed that testosterone begins to decline shortly after marriage, but surges upwards when unions end in divorce. We already discussed that. See, anytime a man sees a new lady walk past his face, is what? Even if she's flirting with him, he's right back and ready to roll again. Why is that? It's just nature, man. It's not that you love your wife any less. And it's the one thing I try and discuss with women when men are dogs because they do this. Women don't do that. We're wired different. You sleeping around for love and companionship. We're all still mammals. A male may just be having sex with another woman for sexual gratification, for the most part, 9 times out of 10, and that's it. But it's also why I told you what. It's not that women are better cheaters than men. It's a man's ultimate role is to be the side dude. Because what? All we're coming together to do is what? Have sex. I don't have to listen to you whining, complaining. I don't got to hear about your damn day that I don't really care about. He doesn't have to hear about any of those things. You call him once or twice a week or once every other week. You get together sexually. He goes about his business. You go about yours. It's not that you cheat better. He's just not willing to blow the spot up. See, for a woman, it's different. Because when a man touches certain spots sexually, that woman now is in competition. She wants what? She wants your woman or your wife's spot at home. So what will she do? She'll leave an earring in the car. She'll break a condom wrapper out, hide it under the seat so that you get caught. Start calling your house just to play games. But in her head, she's in competition mode because now she wants to be the one who you cater to. She wants to be held by you. All of that. So it's never that women cheat bad. It's just a woman will blow up a man's spot because she wants to be now numero uno. A man does not want to be numero uno. It's why when women cheat, they end up going back to their husbands because the dude they was cheating with, who they have now fallen in love with, he's told them what? What did we talk about on that paternity court episode? When she was with dude for what? 16, 12 years, 13 years, when she was sleeping with the other dude for 8 years, and she left her fiance to go with that dude. And then she was like, well, I thought he was the father, but I'm hoping now my fiance, well, my ex-fiance is the father, because the new dude this ain't a dude who wants a family. So you know what that new dude told her? Hey, you good for a good time, shorty, but that's it. I ain't really trying to be in a relationship with you. Like, this is cool. We get together a day or two, but I don't need you here to kill my vibe. I'm not looking for nothing long-term with you. You just here. This is sexual gratification. We got a nice interaction going, but that's it. No more, nothing less. It makes sense, notes Peter Ellison, professor of anthropology. Lower levels of testosterone may increase the likelihood that men will stay home and care for their wives and kids, while decreasing the likelihood they will go out drinking with the guys and chase other women. I keep telling you, that silhouette has already been, she's just filling the silhouette. That's all. Her picture has already been painted. I keep telling you this. Her, house in the back, white picket fence, manicured lawn, dog, baby. Now, be it you or somebody else, that door will ever be evolving. She doesn't really care. But she needs a man to serve a certain type of role. And it's why when a man gets out of a relationship, he can breathe again. Because what? He can go back to being himself. See, in order to be in a monogamous relationship, you do have to kill a part of yourself as a man. You can't laugh at stuff you used to laugh at. You can't joke the way you used to joke. You can't go out and hang out with the guys the way you used to go out and hang out with them. Because she wants what? A piece of your time. Case in point. Man, they look at it now and say, yo, all he want to do is play video games. He don't really want to play video games. If you're being honest, he don't even want to be in this damn house. But what you're doing is you want him to sit under you and be your personal cutler for the day. And then when you don't want to be bothered, you'll say, oh, can I get some space? So boom, you get space. But if he leave and go out and hang out, he already knows when he comes back, I think you out. Who you out there hanging out with? I call him, or why you doing this, or you ain't answer the phone, and this quick time you don't respond back. So he understands he's confined to the house. He's on house arrest while he's married. So as that's occurring, what does he do now? Best I got now is this video game, man. Might as well play that. It's the only way I can really stay in the crib, make sure I don't get in no trouble, and I can play the role she wants me to play. But even then, she's going to take that from you. Because she's going to do what? She ain't going to want to be bothered with you at all. The second you cut that game on and she hears you laughing, what does she do? Baby, you want to spend some time with each other? I've been sitting right here not doing nothing for 6 hours. And now that you hear me having fun, you want what? You want to be in on the fun. So now what does that do? Well, I just, fine, play your little funky video games like a little kid. And again, little soft jabs. It's plugging away at who you are as a man. Now, when it's over, she's going to tell you what? You had every opportunity to leave. I never held you hostage here. I didn't disrespect you. But us as men, no, that's a damn lie. When you got to get up and you want to go work out. The second you start getting in the gym and looking good, what does she say? I see these women looking at you. See, they cool as long as you're basically unattractive, and she can have you. Now, the second other women start looking at you, that's when you start having these other weird conversations. That's now the better shape you get in, the more she looks at herself and says, what? I can feel the testosterone rising again. The estrogen controlled relationship is dying out. Now you operating different, moving different. What does she want? Let me get in the gym with you. So now she wants to tail around you even more. Does now she need to make sure he really going to the gym and you there as long as you say you are. And I need to make sure ain't no funny business going on at the gym. This is just the way this works, man. This is why also women tell you what? I want a chubby dude. I don't really want a dude who buff and shredded and all of that. So they understand those type of guys, the testosterone level is higher. And they understand then, as a woman, she's going to have to keep up with that. So she knows she gets a chubby dude, she can fall into her relaxed state too, where it's like, you know what? He chunky, I'm chunky. I ain't got nothing to compete with. She doesn't want to be that type of arm candy where you ripped and buff and she looking in the mirror and she starts to become body conscious. That's why they continue to feed you, man. It's lowering your testosterone levels. It's raising the estrogen levels. So Let's go here. Why can't I maintain sexual interest in one person? Do we want to do this one also? No, we don't. Let's just finish this one. What are we? Yeah, almost 40 minutes in. Sheesh. I seem to have a problem with sexual arousal in women I am emotionally attached to. When I met my wife, we were very sexually active, but that dwindled as we got deeper into our relationship. I thought at first maybe it was my age, but I have found myself aroused over female friends and acquaintances. The good thing is, this has never developed into an affair, but I would like to figure out what is wrong with me so that my wife and I can be intimate. Now, again, he thinks something is wrong with him. And he thinks something is wrong with him because what? He is now being forced to operate outside of nature, and he has to now operate in uncharted territories and operate in a environment that has been nurtured for him. Because you're going to have women say, what? Yo, in order for us to be together, and you may think she's the greatest woman in the world, but in order for us to be together, you have to operate under whose rules? Her rules. If she says, yo, I just want a monogamous relationship, you have to operate in that. Now, as you get into your late 40s, early 50s, guess what happens? If she still has a high sex drive and your testosterone has really gone in the shitter by your early 50s, guess what she's going to say? This relationship really not working for me anymore. So either we're going to have to open it up or we're going to have to end it. And then you'll say, what? Well, we can open it up because I don't want to lose you. But now what has happened? She's now being able to what? Have her cake and eat it too. So see, now she can go get it from wherever she wants to, as long as she wants it that way. If she doesn't, then it can't be that way. Now, when the environment says it's okay for her to be in a polygamous relationship or be in a swinger lifestyle, guess what she'll tell you then? I just want to be sexually liberated, and you're trying to hold me back. See, when a man is trying to keep a woman from operating the way nature has her operates, we're toxic masculine pigs, misogynistic pigs. They want to be able to have what? Sexual liberation. They want to be able to what? Don't hold shame. I should be able to have sex with as many men as I want to, and I'm fine with that. I always tell you that. I would recommend men don't ask women what their body count is. Because all you should really be worried about is the relationship you're in currently with. If she slept with 30 dudes, as long as she ain't bringing no STDs into the relationship, then that just is what that is, man. Y'all situation is y'all situation in the current. But she's going to always want to do what? Maneuver in what makes her feel better at the time. It's no different than when she comes to you and says, what, yo, I think we should separate. Sexually, I'm not satisfied. She's found a new dude already. He sexually satisfies it. You move on. Y'all got 2 kids. The divorce ain't went final yet, but this is how they operate. They looking for a trial run. So now in that 6 months, you done went back to the gym. You living a good life. Y'all finally starting to co-parent correctly, maybe after a year or so. You dating someone who looks a little better, maybe younger. You drop 20, 30 pounds. Life is good for you. What did she come back to you and do? Because dude got tired now. And now her sex life with him is now the same as it was with yours. So now what does she do? Because now you have a new woman who is sexually satisfied by you and is burning her up inside. So now she's going to come and play the next game. You throwing our family away. And you made these vows. And I'm not willing to give up on us. I want to fight. But now why does she want to fight? Because you're happy. And she realizes now, not even this new dude I wanted wants me in the way that I thought he wanted. You have to understand, don't let this go over your head, that we're operating in an environment nurtured by them at this point. None of this is nature for us. It's not natural for us. I always tell people that monogamy is not natural for a man. Never has been, never will be. That's an everyday job and an everyday struggle of trying to operate in that box because you're killing your testosterone on a daily basis by trying to turn off things that you would normally be attracted to. So your testosterone levels will stay high when you're single because what? I can go talk to the new girl. I can go talk to her. I don't have to operate in this box. I don't have to turn down who I am as a man to make her happy. Now, this problem, as he's going to tell you, predates my wife. And in the past, my girlfriends would have at least pretend to indulge a fantasy of a threesome of them being intimate with someone else, just for me to get aroused. So I believe there's a correlation between arousal and degree of familiarity. But we also have to have that conversation also. See, a lot of women become swingers and polygamy. They get into these polyamorous relationships because what? You have a lot of women who have fantasies of being with two men at the same time. That husbands, most men won't go for that. They can't bear the sight of seeing another man make his wife make sex faces. Now, again, I told you my guidelines and my boundaries in my marriage already. All I request is don't bring me no STD home, man. If it's something you need to go venture off into, you go handle that. Don't come back and bare your soul to me about it. Don't bring me no STD home. And I ain't raising another man kid. Besides that, hey man, if she gets out there and she wants to, dip her toe in some other type of waters and those type of things, be it male or female, I'm not going to ever check for nothing from her. So, like I tell her, that's something you just have to live with. So as long as you're safe with it and nothing comes of it where it's violating any boundaries I've set, I've always told her I never have a problem with you doing that. I just understand it's not natural for one person, no matter how much we want to say it is. It's not natural, if we ever being honest, for one person to want to sleep with the same person for the next 50, 60, 70 years. It's just not. Now, for me, I'm willing and open to have these conversations with people because I'm willing to be honest and real with people also. Infidelities happen in relationships not really because people have fallen out of love. People want variety, but we're forced to live in a box where you're not allowed to have variety. They want you to eat vanilla ice cream every day the rest of your life. They want you to wear the same black shoes every day the rest of your life. Now, can you do that? Sure, but it's going to be a boring ass life, man. It will be. Now, if you're being honest with yourself, then that's cool. And you understand what I'm telling you is true. If you're willing to lie to yourself, that's fine also, man. I don't knock it. Now, the experience you describe reminds me of a concept known as the Coolidge Effect, which suggests that when sexual interest begins to wane, it can be reawakened by the novelty of a new partner. This phenomenon got its name from a popular anecdote about a visit that the U.S. President Calvin Coolidge and his wife supposedly made to a chicken farm. The story goes something like this. Miss Coolidge, observing the vigor with which one particular prominent rooster covered hen after hen, asked the guide to make certain that the president took note of the rooster's behavior. When President Coolidge got to the hen yard, the rooster was pointed out and his exploits recounted by the guide, who added that Mrs. Coolidge had requested that the president be made aware of the rooster's prowess. The president reflected for a moment and replied, "Tell Miss Coolidge that there is more than one hen." Hmm. So, no vibrant little rooster, man. It is what it is. The Coolidge Effect has been documented in several animal species, and you have to understand we are all mammals at the end of the day. Even though we're human beings, we're still mammals. For instance, consider what we have learned from studies of rats. Research has found that when a male rat is placed inside a cage with several female rats that are in heat, he will mate with every last one of them, all of them, until he appears exhausted. However, if a new female is introduced into the cage, the male will often experience an immediately renewed interest in sex and begin mating with the new female. Now, if you think that's a lie, you have to, there are men who will tell you, yo, I went from not having sex with my wife and not being interested for years on end to getting in a swinger lifestyle with a new partner and having sex with 5 or 6 different women in one night. You have to ask yourself, why is that? There has to be something to all of this then. There has to be some truth to this. If we as men understand, yo, there really is never been a point if I meet a new girl where I'm not. Unless you have some ED problems. That much I will say that can be an issue. But if you don't have erectile dysfunction issues, there can be times where it's, yo, I may have smashed 2, 3 different chicks. You can smash 2, 3 different ladies in one day and have the energy for all 3 of them. And be ready to roll when all 3 come asking. And then you could be at home with a lady who you find beautiful, gorgeous. Again, I always tell you, Halle Berry has all of these instances. We regarded her as one of the most beautiful women to walk the face of the earth. But what has she stated to you? Men got tired of having sex with me, and all of my men end up cheating on me. Why is that? That's why I keep telling you this statement. You show me the prettiest girl in the world with a husband or a boyfriend. I show you a man who's tired of having sex with her. It's not that she's no longer beautiful. And it's like I tell you, you can have the greatest pair of shoes in the world, that A1 pair of shoes you always go to, but you always want some variety. At some point, you're going to get tired of seeing that. It's no different than when a woman wants to get new hairdos. It's not that any of the hairdos are ugly, but you get tired of looking at the same thing. So even if it's just for a 2-week stretch, I just wanted to get my hair looking like this. I wanted to go with a different color like this. Oh, I wanted to let it grow out for a few months. You just want something different. It's just natural. It's nature. What's not nature is being forced and boxed in to operate. Now, what they will do then is start to bring in the Bible and say, hey, yo, God said it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. That's cool. I will also tell you, though, God never wrote not one word in that Bible. He's a spirit with no hands. When you see who copied, when you see who published that book, it does not say God on it. But let's get back to this before I take this on a whole nother tangent. The Coolidge Effect has been documented to some degree in human men as well. For instance, in one study, male participants were either exposed to constant or varied sexual stimuli, while their level of sexual arousal was measured by a device that records changes in penile circumference. The men who were repeatedly shown the same stimuli showed less arousal over time. In contrast, those who were exposed to varied stimuli maintained higher levels of arousal. So again, a lot of times, guys, you just have to accept the fact that it's just monogamy, and that's what it is. It has nothing to do with you no longer attracted to her or any of those things. It really don't have nothing to do with you. It's just you're forced to operate in a nurtured environment that is not natural for you. It is important to note that a similar but somewhat less pronounced pattern also seems to occur among females. For instance, research on female hamsters has found that after mating with one male hamster until exhaustion, they demonstrate renewed interest in sex when a new male is introduced to the cage. And it's like I tell you too, women want it just as much as men. They just don't have the testosterone we have. So it doesn't affect them. Living in a monogamous relationship doesn't affect them the way it affects us. If the roles was reversed and they had the testosterone and we had the estrogen, they would be behaving the same way we behave. Hell, they behave that way and they don't have it, if we being honest. Also, research on human females has found out, just like men, they show some degree of habituation to repeated presentations of the same erratic stimulus. So the Coolidge effect isn't necessarily just a male phenomenon, which is also something I try and get people to understand. We're both sexual beings. Now, is polygamy the answer? Probably not. Definitely won't be in this country. And we can just be honest with that. Because again, capitalism and democracy, it won't work in a polygamous society. Just won't. Together, this set of research findings tells us that losing sexual interest in the same partner over time and being excited by variety is not particularly unusual. In fact, I know many scientists who would argue that this may actually be normative. It is normal. We all know it's normal. It's just the 20,000-pound gorilla sitting in a room that nobody has the courage to address, I guess. But I will today. Now, will this get me into some trouble? I don't know. Because I haven't had this conversation with my wife about this subject yet. So I'm pretty sure when she hears this episode, there will probably be a long conversation with us about my thoughts on all of this. But, again, like I said, I have to be fearless when I do this at this point. I can no longer maneuver, even in the guise of how our relationship is nurtured. I have to be now unapologetically me when I'm doing all of this. It's the only way I can give you everything I got. That said, it is important to keep in mind that not everyone loses sexual interest in the same person, and some people maintain very high levels of passion for the same partner for many years. Human sexuality is incredibly diverse, and nothing is ever true 100% of the time. There's never any absolutes in life. But what they will do to make you think monogamy is normal is what? If we can find you 10% of the 100 and show you this is possible, then it's the dream we can sell you. Just like if we sell you the American dream, that if you work hard in this capitalistic society and you go to school, you do all the right things, that you can make. You can be a millionaire. You can be a billionaire. You can have anything you want. You can win the lottery. And you know why they tell you can win the lottery? Because we show you someone wins it every day or once a week. So as long as we can show you the possibility of this thing existing, you'll always believe that it's attainable. But is it realistic? See how you getting ready to lose your house and your car and all of that because you putting that money into the lottery to get as many tickets as you can and still lose? And you also have to understand, even though it's attainable, what's the odds that it's attainable? And once you find out the odds are very low, then as you need to come back and accept the information you've been given and say, what? Okay, I'll try and work inside of this, but that's also a conversation me and my wife have where we may need to reevaluate the terms of our relationship periodically. So, what can a couple do if the partners want to address a decline in sexual interest? One possibility would be to consider having an open or non monogamous relationship. That ain't happening no time soon, y'all. I'm just going to be honest with you. As much as these women want their sexual liberations, the one thing I can always tell you is what? A man who is sexually satisfying a woman, she is not interested in sharing that penis. Just ain't happening. Now, when your woman comes to you and she's willing to share it with another woman openly, you don't satisfy her sexually anymore. That's just her way of telling you that. Many couples practice consensual non-monogamy, in which they explicitly permit some degree of outside sexual involvement. This can take many different forms: having an open relationship, swinging, an occasional threesome, and the couples who practice it tailor it to the comfort level of both partners. That is probably more practical at this point because you're able to still stay closeted. It will be some decades upon decades upon decades, probably centuries before these type lifestyles will be accepted publicly. It'll be no different than how long it took for the LGBTQ community to be accepted publicly and that lifestyle to be accepted publicly. You just have too many people where these subjects are taboo. Most parents don't even talk to their children about sex, let alone would be open about being in a non-monogamous or polygamous relationship. It's just not going to happen. Now, of course, what they're going to do is, again, I told you, they'll use the crutch and say, this is what God said. When, of course, again, like I told you, God has never said a word. No one has ever heard God. No one has ever heard God's voice. No one has ever seen God. Now, of course, they'll tell you, hey, yo, these are his words. Yeah, you say these his words. Now, was something moved inside of you thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago that led you to write some of these things? Sure, now you could be saying that is God that led you to write that. But when they tell you God said, yo, this should be the way this works, and there's a lot of contradictions in that book where I would not buy that he said this would be the way that works. Because again, there were more than enough men back there with multiple wives. And again, like I said, I don't even have a problem being in a society where a woman had multiple husbands. What I'm trying to get you to understand, though, is monogamy may not be natural for men. And I think men need to start getting to a point where we may have to accept that. It's a tough conversation to start having. But I think it's a conversation that needs to start happening. Now, of course, consensual non-monogamy isn't right for everyone. Different types of relationships work for different people. Only you and your partner can decide whether this is a viable option. And I should caution that the topic may very well be a non-starter for your partner, which is what most men are afraid of, and most women. Because we understand how much we love the person we lay next to, be it man or woman. Because I don't think this is really this is not just applicable to men. There are women who don't want to be in monogamous relationships either. But because of the love you have for that person and not wanting to hurt that person and not wanting to be with anyone else but that person, that also needs to be stated clearly. You're not wanting to be with anyone else but that person. You're willing to operate in the guidelines of the environment she has nurtured or he has nurtured. And you'll start to tell yourself what? Something is wrong with me that I can't be monogamous. Instead of, yo, this is just really not natural. There's more than enough scientific evidence to say monogamy is not natural. Now, an alternative possibility is to maintain monogamy, but to try and incorporate more novelty into both your relationship and sex life. Novelty can breed sexual excitement by facilitating the release of pleasurable brain chemicals. Now, that will also work for a while, but there's only so many different positions, different wigs, different toys, and different things you can kind of do with a person if you're going to be with somebody for a lifetime. Like you could give me every pair of Jordans. At some point, I'm going to be done wore them all throughout the year. And what? You just eventually you still going to want to put something new on your feet. Just something, a different type of variety. This is what it is. You're just going to want to rock a pair of Air Max or a pair of Adidas, a pair of shell toes. That's just how life goes. Doesn't mean you love the Jordans any less, but you just have to understand that's where this is. Research has found that the long-term couples who report having the most intense feelings for each other are those who engage in the most new and exciting activities together. In other words, there may be other ways of stimulating that same level of sexual excitement that you receive from sexual variety by bringing more novelty in your relationship in other ways, which means that you're going to have to then start finding, if you're going to make it work monogamous wise, you're going to have to find different ways of getting that sexual gratification without actually having sex. Which means if us working out together brings us that same satisfaction, we need to start doing that more. But then if you're going to make monogamy work in that way, you're going to have to start operating under the guise of, we need to be able to start doing things that'll bring us the same sexual gratification and intimacy between each other without actually it being sex. Then there's different varieties. So at that point, you don't need to step out. Because being with her at the gym and the gratification you may get working out, that is kind of like the new chick. You guys playing a video game together, that is like the new chick. You guys going to book clubs or becoming part of a book club and doing that together, that is part of the new chick. But you would then have to find and hope you have a partner willing to do that. And since most of us are not married to our best friends, what's the odds of you finding that? That's right, slim and none. So, closing out, for my men out here, is monogamy natural for us? Take a sit back, analyze your life, do a deep dive into it. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think about it. I'm out.